What's going on, everyone? My name is Ben Sartorius, and I've been creating these little videos here just to kind of help the church and help production people. Hopefully, maybe it doesn't help. Hopefully it does. Yeah, so that's kind of what the idea is here of just creating videos. So we've done light key and Philips Hue ball videos. We've done, I just did a hazer video, just cleaning and maintenance. So today we are doing more of a dig in on automation. You've probably heard in other videos that we do a lot of automation here at Mission. I've set up a ton of stuff. Basically my thought process is things that always happen, and they basically always happen the same way. I want to automate that just to get it out of the brain that we have to remember to do something. So there's lots of things that we do not automate that others do. A good example of that is we do not automate our ProPresenter lyrics. We do sometimes do that, but 99% of the time we do not. But we have a lot of automation in other areas that might be a little different. Hopefully it's helpful. So we'll dig in that for a little bit here. Just kind of an overview of what we do automate. We automate some channels on our CL5, Yamaha CL5. Basically anytime we play a video, it brings the ProPresenter channels up to the appropriate level automatically. When we click the first slide of the message, it brings the pastor's channel up. When we hit dismissal, it automatically brings ProPresenter up to play music. That's at a different volume than obviously the video, so just getting all those levels set correctly. We automate Playing Center services live. So on the iPad here, we've got screens kind of all over the building that are viewing that. So that's based off of some automation. We automate our lights, stage lights. We automate our house lights. I say that separately because technically it is two separate automations as of right now. Let's see, what else do we automate? We automate our pitch control. So we run pitch control on our vocal mics. That gets automated as well. That's kind of like the during service automation stuff. Oh, and our video switcher. So when we click a video, it will automatically put the ProPresenter computer in preview and automatically hits the auto dissolve button. So it auto crossfades it in. That's probably it that I can think of as of right now, what we automate for our weekend services. We do some other automation as well, as far as like our live stream. We label our vocal mics on a mic board. In the back, it's a digital mic board. It automatically labels our CL5, automatically labels our M32 in the back room as well. So that happens at, I think like 12:30 or something every Saturday afternoon. We automate a couple on-air lights on our broadcast room above the door when we're live streaming. So let's dig into all that and see how it all works. So the brains behind everything is Companion. So if you don't know what Companion is, that is a software that runs on a computer. It could be on Raspberry Pi, Mac or PC. There's lots of ways you can run that. So, and as I opened that up, that reminded me some other things that we automate. So the way that we run it is on a Raspberry Pi 4, and it just basically sits off to the side here in a rack cabinet. It's technically got two network cables, or network connections. One is a physical cable that gets it onto our production network. So that's 95% of our automation. So that's on hardwire. And then we have another network for Dante. And we do have a wireless router on our Dante network that gives us a Wi-Fi signal. So the Raspberry Pi also connects to that wireless network as well. And that's where the labeling happens for the Shure microphones that we have. They live on the Dante network. So yeah, so that's the only connection wirelessly is six microphones. Everything else is done hardwired through the production network. So we're here on Raspberry Pi on Companion. So I basically, let me back up. So the way we have the Raspberry Pi running is it's only running Companion. So it's not actually running an OS and then has to launch Companion. It actually, the SD card is flashed and installed with Companion as it boots up. So, or when it boots up. So if it loses power or we unplug it, plug it back in, it boots up right to basically into a Companion existence. If you plug the monitor into the computer, you would just see a whole bunch of code and information on the screen. It's not like an OS or anything like that. So yeah, so that's how that's running. Okay, so I'm on my ProPresenter computer here, and I just basically typed in my IP address of the Raspberry Pi, and then it comes up. So basically the way you want to start that is start adding all your devices that live on the network. And I've gone as far as I've got stuff on here that we don't use all the time, or stuff, even I still even have stuff that are on here that we no longer use, because it's technically, the devices are still on the network, and who knows, you never know when you might want to use that piece of gear again. So yeah, so that's that. So basically you want to come in and add all your devices. So they have a whole list of production equipment that, as long as it's on the network, you put the IP address in. Some devices require a username and password. You put all that stuff in, a port number sometimes, and then it will connect. So we have our projectors. So we run 3 projectors, one center and a left and a right. When I said earlier, when I opened this up, that reminded me of some things. So our projectors turn on automatically. They do turn off automatically as well. That's technically a setting through the projector itself, not through Companion, but it could be through Companion if I wanted it to, which, as I'm saying that, I might switch it to Companion because we've had problems when there's time change. The projectors never auto update, even though I've got it set to looking at like the internet time and all that. Never works. But Companion would auto update based on the time, and I've never had a problem with that not changing time. So yeah, so I've got the projectors here. All of these are just a whole bunch of smart switches. So I'll put a link to the smart switch on the bottom of this video. We've got a whole bunch of them. I've only had an issue with one, and it's probably a plug issue. It's not a Companion issue. I might have to like battery reset it, I'm not sure. It shows it's connected on my app on the phone. It's got an IP address, it's got a MAC address, but I really can't see it on the network. But on the app, it shows all that information, so I'm not quite sure. But anyways, so these are basically just plugged into lights, TVs, things like that, our hazer. Yeah, so these work really good and they're awesome. So we run a whole bunch of Blackmagic gear here. So we got our switcher, got a web presenter for our live stream, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. Hyperdeck, yeah, Unity, which that's how we use our comm. I can't get it to connect. I've talked with them a couple times, so I just have it off. QLab, we no longer use QLab. We used to be a big QLab user here. for automation stuff, but we've switched over to Companion for everything. So even though I have Companion here, it's turned off, so it's not connecting. We don't run the app. The app's not open anymore, but if you open the app and turn it on, it would connect. So QSys, which we technically don't do anything through Companion with QSys yet, but it's connected, ready to go. H2R Graphics, which is a program that we run right here, basically for two things, and for the most part not weekend services, except for one every so often. So we do a live stream, or not a live stream, but we do a podcast, video podcast, and we use the H2R Graphics for lower thirds. That's on a separate A10 mini switcher, so that's running the Raspberry Pi that's looking at the ProPresenter computer running the graphics, or running the H2R Graphics. So yeah, so that's how that connects and does that. The other one we use it for is actually what we just started. It's our first time doing it a few months ago. I think back in January, we had baptisms, and we put the names up on the screen of who was getting baptized as they were getting baptized. So that worked really well. We used a Stream Deck that we knew the order of when people were getting baptized. We just hit the button on the Stream Deck. It basically like slid the graphic in. We could push that same button again when they were done, and it would take the graphic away. So pretty cool. Philips Hue, that's the bridge for our house lights. Planning Center Services MIDI, which I have turned off right now because I was just trying some stuff and it wasn't working, so it's turned off. Smart, which is a computer running our dB measurements and a whole bunch of just audio information on a computer over here. M32 is our monitor board backstage. CL5 is this board right here, and then our 6 wireless microphones as well. So that's basically all the gear that we have that is on the network. And then the next tab is buttons. So if you have a Stream Deck, you can connect a Stream Deck to a computer. If you connect it directly to the computer that's running Companion, it's relatively simple to get it all linked up and all that stuff. And then you have different pages that you can run or basically change on the Stream Deck itself. We actually run, we have a lot of different computers all over. It's running an app called Companion Satellite. So basically that's a computer, an app running on a computer that's on the same network as the Raspberry Pi that looks at the Raspberry Pi for Companion running. So the way that works is basically it's an app. You put the IP address of Companion on whatever computer it lives on, Raspberry Pi, doesn't matter. Put in the port number, I think that might be it. And then obviously the Stream Deck is plugged in USB to the computer. And that's basically it. There's some settings that you can change of how many buttons it shows and things like that. And then it's basically as if that Stream Deck is plugged right into the computer running Companion. So it's pretty cool. So we've got 3-4 of those running throughout the building. So they work really well. So we have different pages set up based on different things. So this would be our H2R graphics for baptism. So we'd have, service 1, people, service 2, who's getting baptized in that order, 3, and then 4. So makes it really easy to do that. If you don't have to run a Stream Deck. You can run this on a computer. Just you can do an emulator and push the buttons here. You can do this with a touchscreen monitor if you wanted to. You can page up or down depending on where you want to go. Yeah, so you can run on an iPad, basically the same thing, like the web buttons or the emulator, and get all those buttons. So Technically, the way this is set up is more than the standard, is it 12 or 16 button Stream Deck, but you can get the bigger one that would show all these buttons. So I'm not going to go into how these buttons all set up. Some of it's pretty simple, some of it gets really complicated. There's stuff that I see people talking about and I'm like, I have no idea what you're doing. So it can get really complicated, but it's super powerful and super cool, and it's free, which is also cool. This triggers tab is where we do a lot of automation, like behind the scenes automation, not like tied to ProPresenter automation. So our live stream starts and stops automatically. So based on the time of day, and then the time of the day. So they're called triggers. So this is looking at my web presenter, does all the settings, puts in the stream key, and then tells it to start. I did have an issue with the latest version, where it was not wanting to kick off all the time. And then I added this internal wait of 100 milliseconds and it fixed it. So I didn't have that I did not have this wait time or delay, I think it was called in the previous version before, but I guess I need it with the new one. Turns our on-air lights on, puts our HyperDeck to preview mode, and then it will automatically stop the stream at about 1 hour and 15 after the service starts. So we do that, and then the one that's different is our 10 o'clock service. It records. Record. So it records on our HyperDeck. So we have a internal recording, high quality feed recording for any post-production stuff that we want to do. This is a really cool one, the mic labels. So I go in typically every Wednesday or so. I go to this buttons tab, I go to this page, and I label these 3 boxes with who's going to use that microphone. So these boxes are the CL5, which is this monitor, and then this last one is changing the name on the mic receiver itself. So so I do that for all the microphones, and then under the triggers at 12:30 on every Saturday, it automatically goes in and basically pushes those buttons, and it will automatically label those 3 locations or 3 devices, and it's super cool. I was talking about mic board earlier. So in our green room, we have a big red Milwaukee mic cabinet with these 6 microphones, in-ears, all that stuff, charging bays sitting on top of that, with a ultra wide monitor right above that / behind, like a handheld microphone. And I'll flash a picture of what I'm talking about here. And then that's running on a Raspberry Pi. That lives on our Dante network, because that's where the mic network lives. And that is a digital version of labeling each microphone, so they know on mic 1 or 5 or whatever. So that is also labeling that, so they know who gets what mic. So I was doing it manually, kind of. I was doing it without triggers and just doing it by the button, and then I was going to a Stream Deck and basically like pushing those buttons on Saturday, and I'm like, oh wait a second, I could probably automate that. So as long as the labels are in by 12:30 on Saturday, those microphones are going to get labeled automatically. It labels everything, so pretty cool. And that's about it as far as companion. The way that it works, so obviously those triggers, those just happen by time of day, and then all the other automation mostly happens from ProPresenter. So I've got ProPresenter up here. Got a lot of actions here. So we do a pre-service loop that has a lot of actions. Welcome. So all these actions are doing lots of different things. So the way that it works, let's start with lighting. So typically the colored one, not green, we usually don't use green lighting. So the colored one is setting the color that talks to light key. And then the white one is the dimmer. So that's going to turn the lights up or down. And then the green one is planning center. And then I have this purple one. This is kind of where it gets a little confusing. We've added this new feature when we did the house lights. So go check out that Philips Hue video. I'll link it on here of how we got that integrated. But this one is adding a light cue for the Philips Hue lights through Companion. Yeah, I'm not going to go into super big detail with some of this because I've talked about it in other videos, but we have transitions between each songs, basically dims the lights, changes the color, and then brings the color dimmer back up. So those are set on auto transitions. So yeah, so if I click this, it's going to change. I'm already on that light scene. So I've got light key open here. So we don't really use much of this bottom section, all of this yet. We're in the midst of programming stuff, and then we will use this stuff, but as of right now, we basically just use kind of this section right here, and we don't really use this either. So mostly just this little section right here. So I'm on light red, color, dimmer, 100%. I'm gonna minimize that. I will click on the start of this song, and if I go back to light key, obviously that changed it. So light key is running on a different computer. The way that these computers talk for this is through the audio MIDI setup that's built into Mac. So free, simple. So that's how we link our lighting, and then our pitch control. So one of these is going to be our pitch control. So if I just hover over, boom. So this one is pitch control. So if I go over here to macro, I go to pitch correction. All these are the different keys. So basically the way this works is we run Super Rack by Waves on a computer. It's a PC because we do run it on a touchscreen, and it just works better that way. So, and I've got a whole bunch of plugins. All those plugins are set to recall safe, except for the Waves Tune Live plugin. And what it's doing when I click one of these is it changes the snapshot. It loads a snapshot, and which basically is just changing the key of Waves Tune Live. Everything else is recall safe, so nothing else changes. So that's how we do that. The reason we do it on ProPresenter and not at technically front of house is it's hard. Like we always click the first slide. It's hard to not remember to click the first slide because it's the first slide. So all of our ops know always click the first slide. Also with these auto transition, it automatically goes to the first slide when you go through it. So so it's just a kind of a hard to forget. Make sure that we're on the right key basically. Our audio ops know to check to make sure that it does change. They know how to manually change it if it is wrong or it doesn't work. But it's pretty bomb-proof and it works really well, and it's hard to forget because we always just click the first slide. So that's how we do that one. And then video switcher, basically, yeah, it's sending commands to Companion, and then Companion is changing those. So we usually don't use any of these camera ones. but we use the video switcher, or the Pro 7 switcher. Would basically, when we click a video, it puts the ProPresenter in preview, and then hits the auto transition, which fades it or dissolves it. So that works really well. The audio one, which we're sitting at the audio console here, so we can show you how some of this one work, or some of these work. So video announcements. So if we click on this one, it brings up the ProPresenter channel. So little trick here, when we make our videos, we put all of our speaking, so all the voices on the left, so everything's panned to the left, and then all music, effects, whatever, always on the right channel, so we can mix it for our room and balance it correctly. So 9 times out of 10 you get a video and the music's too loud or the music's too soft, and you can't adjust that in real time. So this allows us to do that in real time. These channels are set to center, so they're out of both speakers. So in live, you don't notice that it's, you know, pan to the left or right. So, but in real time, we can adjust just voices or just the background music. We also make the same video for multiple campuses. So that's another good thing for multiple campuses. Rooms might sound different, bigger room, smaller room, whatever it might be. We can adjust it in real time and have that ability to adjust it. So yeah, so if I click this down, both of them go down. And then the other one is our pastor's mic. So that's this channel here. If I click on pastor up, boom, pastor down. So, so that cue is loaded on the first slide of the message. So we click this first slide and it's gonna bring his mic up and it's just gonna work. Just, we don't have to remember to bring it up. So you probably maybe can see, but this iPad, as we've been clicking through things, is advancing. So that's that Planning Center live automation. So as I click through songs, it's adjusting accordingly. So yeah, so that's the audio side of things. We've done the lighting, we've done the pitch correction, we've done the video switcher. One thing we were having an issue with the Raspberry Pi, and I've talked about this, I think, in my previous video about setting up ProPresenter, is the Raspberry Pi was getting lost, I guess you could say. It couldn't read all of the incoming protocols, all the incoming messages from ProPresenter. So I built a macro that might have 5, 3, 5, 7, however many ROS-talk commands, and it would only get 2 or 3. It wouldn't get all of them. It wouldn't process all of them. So with the help of another guy, we dug into that a lot to figure out, is that a ProPresenter issue? Is that a network issue? Is it a Raspberry Pi issue? Is it a companion issue? And we narrowed it down. I was thinking it was a ProPresenter issue, but we narrowed it down to the Raspberry Pi not able to process all that information coming in all at the exact same time. So my workaround for that is, instead of all those actions going in at the same time, we've got one action that goes in, it pushes one button, but that one button push does a whole bunch of other things. So let me go back to Raspberry Pi here, companion. We'll go to buttons, and we're gonna go back here. So this is kind of my automation during service stuff. So basically it's one command that pushes, let's just say message start, and you'll see it brings, let me see here. So it brings the pastor's mic up, which is what we were just looking at. It brings ProPresenter down, because usually, not always, but usually the pastor comes out right after the announcement video or some sort of video. So bumper video, whatever it might be. So that brings ProPresenter down, brings his mic up. It changes a scene on the Philips Hue bridge to our message lighting for our house lights. and then a wait time, and then it goes to ProPresenter services. So one incoming message to companion pushes one button, but then it does 1, 2, 3, 4 actions. So yeah, so that's kind of what all these buttons are, just one button push that does multiple things. So that one does 3 pre-video, that's not going to do much. Post-video. So yeah, so this one post-video, so we click the dismissal slide. It goes to a specific slide on ProPresenter, changes ProPresenter services, brings down the pastor's mic, brings up ProPresenter for walkout music. So basically these levels are just numbers in correspondence to the numbers on your board. So infinity would be all the way down, 0 is unity, and then obviously plus or minus. So yeah, so that took a little bit of trial and error and figuring things out, but the last we've been doing it this way for 2 months, maybe a month, and it's been rock solid every weekend since then. So yeah, we were having issues before of it would only bring up like one of the ProPresenter channels but not the other one, or it would do all of them but ProPresenter services. So it was kind of the order that they were in, they'd only do like the first couple. So but doing it this way has been rock solid. One of the other workaround basically was to probably move it to a computer that had more horsepower that could handle all that information, even though we're talking technically like not large file sizes, it's just information. It was just getting overloaded, and again, it's also on a hardwired network. So yeah, so that's basically it for automation and what we do here. I'm sure there's stuff that I forgot, but it's a lot. We do a lot of automation. Like I said earlier, it's stuff that we do routinely every weekend and almost doesn't change each and every weekend. So the pastor's mic always go to the same volume level, fader level. So during sound check, we'll adjust the gain, adjust the fader where it needs to be, but then boom, that final level comes from companion. So we basically have it set to -5. So we bump it up to -5 depending who's preaching, adjust the gain accordingly, and then it's just going to be at -5 every time. So but things like that it's like, why not do it? Because it's a repetition thing, always doing it. It saves a little bit of work and remembrance on the human, on volunteers. They don't have to remember as much stuff. The idea here is to set them up for success. They don't have to worry about things. They're just able to come in, do their job, do it well, enjoy doing it, and walk out and feel like they did a good job and they were successful. So that's kind of the idea. So make sure you subscribe. I'll be pushing out these videos hopefully regularly. So yeah, we've got some cool things coming up, cool things on the horizon that I'd love for you to come along with. So yeah, till then, see ya.